Toyota's secret plan to destroy Nissan is happening right now, and what we discovered about this corporate war will shock you and change how you think about the car industry forever. Picture the world's largest automaker quietly executing a strategy so ruthless it could wipe Nissan off the map within 5 years. While you've been focused on electric vehicles and gas prices, Toyota has been playing a completely different game, systematically targeting every market where Nissan makes money and crushing them with superior technology, lower prices, and strategic partnerships that Nissan can't match. But here's what makes this corporate assassination so brilliant. Toyota isn't just competing with Nissan. They're rewriting the rules of the entire industry in ways that make Nissan's business model completely obsolete. We're talking about secret deals with suppliers, exclusive technology partnerships, and a pricing strategy so aggressive it's forcing Nissan to lose money on every car they sell. The most shocking discovery came from leaked internal documents showing Toyota's 5-year plan to dominate every segment where Nissan currently competes. They're not just trying to beat Nissan, they're trying to make Nissan irrelevant. Is this the beginning of the end for Nissan as we know it? Or will they find a way to fight back against Toyota's systematic plan to destroy everything they've built over the past 90 years? Toyota stands at the top of the global auto industry, holding a 12.4% share of the world market in 2025. That figure isn't just a number, it's the result of years of steady growth, with Toyota gaining 4.1% in global share, while almost every other major rival slipped or stalled. By comparison, the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance, Nissan's home team, now claims just 7.8% of global sales, a drop of 2.2% in the same period. Every percentage point in this race represents hundreds of thousands of vehicles, billions of dollars, and untold leverage in everything from supplier contracts to dealership networks. In the United States alone, the gap is unmistakable. Between January and September 2025, Toyota moved 1,595,301 vehicles off dealer lots, up 7% from the year before. Nissan, despite a small uptick, lagged far behind at 673,260 sales. That's less than half Toyota's volume. The difference isn't confined to a single region. In Asia, Toyota's market share jumped by 5.7%. In the Americas, it climbed another 4.2%. Nissan, meanwhile, faces shrinking territory, losing 6.3% in Asia and 0.4% in Europe. Toyota's dominance isn't just about raw sales. The company's hybrid models, like the RAV4, which alone sold 358,134 units in the US so far this year, have become the gold standard for reliability and fuel efficiency. Hybrids now make up nearly 46% of Toyota's US sales, a number that dwarfs Nissan's electrified lineup. Nissan's best-seller, the Rogue, managed 161,824 US sales this year, but even that couldn't keep pace, with year-to-date numbers down 14% despite a brief Q3 surge. Even in segments where Nissan once held an edge, Toyota has pulled ahead with broader model ranges and higher resale values, leaving Nissan to compete in shrinking corners of the market. Industry analysts say Toyota's lead is no accident. Its global reach, relentless focus on hybrids, and reputation for reliability have created a gap that now looks almost impossible for Nissan to close. The numbers tell a clear story. Toyota has doubled the sales of most rivals, outpaced Nissan by nearly 5 percentage points in global market share, and shows no sign of slowing down. For Nissan, every dip in market share means less bargaining power with suppliers, fewer resources for innovation, and a shrinking presence in the world's most lucrative markets. For Toyota, every gain strengthens its grip, not just over Nissan, but over the entire industry. The numbers aren't just a scoreboard. They're the opening moves in a high-stakes contest where the loser risks fading into irrelevance. As the gap widens, the pressure on Nissan grows. The question isn't just whether they can catch up, it's whether they can survive. 2 decades ago, the race between Toyota and Nissan looked very different. Both companies made bold bets on the future of cars, but they chose opposite paths. In 1997, Toyota launched the Prius, the world's first mass-produced hybrid, betting that drivers wanted the security of gasoline with the efficiency of electric power. The Prius became a symbol of innovation, selling over 6 million units worldwide and building Toyota's reputation for reliability and fuel savings. Nissan, meanwhile, set its sights on pure electric vehicles. In 2010, the Nissan Leaf hit the market as the first affordable, mass-market electric vehicle. The Leaf won praise for its vision, but Nissan's early leap into full electrification came with risk. Charging networks were sparse, battery costs were high, and the market wasn't ready to abandon gasoline. While the Leaf sold over 500,000 units by 2024, it never reached the mainstream dominance Nissan had hoped for. Toyota, watching carefully, doubled down on hybrids while slowly expanding into plug-in and battery electrics only when the technology and infrastructure matured. These divergent strategies shaped their destinies. Toyota's hybrid-first approach paid off as stricter fuel economy rules arrived and gas prices spiked. By 2025, nearly half of Toyota's U.S. sales came from hybrids, including the wildly popular RAV4 and Corolla hybrid. Their hybrids consistently delivered up to 58 miles per gallon, cost 15% less to maintain over 5 years, and earned the trust of drivers wary of electric vehicle range anxiety. Nissan's e-Power Series hybrids, launched later, offered quick city acceleration and fewer transmission issues, but lagged behind in efficiency and reputation. As a result, Toyota's hybrids became the default choice for families and commuters, while Nissan's electrified lineup struggled to find its footing. Behind the numbers, corporate culture played a defining role. Toyota's methodical, risk-averse philosophy meant steady evolution, refining hybrids, building supplier loyalty, and expanding model options. Nissan, on the other hand, chased bold innovation but stumbled when the market moved slower than expected. The pressure intensified after the 2018 arrest of Carlos Ghosn, Nissan's high-profile chairman. The scandal triggered leadership chaos, cost-cutting, and a loss of strategic direction. While Toyota stayed the course, Nissan's alliance with Renault and Mitsubishi frayed, and its ability to invest in new technology weakened. By 2020, Toyota had overtaken Volkswagen to become the world's largest automaker, while Nissan's global share began to slip. The difference wasn't just in sales. It was in stability, trust, and the ability to weather industry upheaval. As Toyota refined its hybrid empire, Nissan found itself exposed, with fewer resources and shrinking influence. This divergence set the stage for what would come next. One company poised to rewrite the rules, the other struggling to defend its place in a rapidly changing world. A single email changed everything. The subject line was simple: Project Apex, but its contents would send shockwaves through the highest levels of Japan's auto industry. The memo, dated March 2025, surfaced from an encrypted account traced back to Nagoya. It landed in the inbox of Kei Matsumoto, a mid-level procurement manager who'd spent his career navigating the tightrope between loyalty and survival inside Toyota's labyrinthine bureaucracy. Matsumoto had seen his share of strategic briefings, but nothing like this. The document described a 5-year roadmap, not just for growth, but for absolute dominance. The language was cold, clinical. Every market where Nissan turned a profit was flagged in red. Every supplier Nissan depended on was listed, along with detailed risk assessments and cost projections. What stood out most was a line buried in the middle of the second page. $3 billion battery-packed, priority allocation, Q4 2025. The memo outlined a sweeping deal with a global battery supplier, designed to guarantee Toyota first access to next-generation cells for hybrid and electric models. The terms were aggressive: upfront capital, guaranteed volumes, and technology sharing clauses that left little room for competitors. For Nissan, already struggling to secure enough batteries for its Ariya and Leaf production lines, this was a direct threat. The memo projected a 12-month window before Nissan would feel the squeeze, rising costs, delayed launches, and eventually lost market share. Matsumoto knew the stakes. He'd watched as Toyota's purchasing division tightened its grip on the supplier network, rewarding loyalty with generous contracts and punishing hesitation with silence. The Project Apex memo made it clear. This was no ordinary expansion. It was an instruction manual for erasing Nissan's advantages, one supplier at a time. The document even identified key Nissan partners, battery makers, chip fabricators, and logistics firms, outlining how Toyota could absorb their capacity through volume guarantees and exclusive R&D partnerships. The memo's final pages read like an ultimatum. By 2029, Nissan's cost structure will be unsustainable in targeted segments. For Matsumoto, the decision to share the memo came with real danger. He'd seen colleagues sidelined for less, but the implications were too big to ignore. The leak set off a chain reaction. Industry analysts scrambled for confirmation, while Nissan executives pored over supplier contracts, searching for signs of shifting loyalties. In boardrooms from Yokohama to Paris, the question was no longer whether Toyota wanted to win. It was how far they were willing to go to make Nissan irrelevant. Suppliers decide who gets the best price, the fastest delivery, and the first shot at new technology. In the auto industry, that power is everything. Toyota's grip on its supplier network is legendary, measured year after year by the Working Relations Index. In 2025, Toyota scored 386 points, the highest among all automakers in North America. Nissan, on the other hand, slipped to 249. That gap isn't just a number on a chart. It's a window into how Toyota quietly tilts the playing field. Dr. Lillian Chen, an expert in automotive supply chains, explains it simply. Suppliers see Toyota as a true partner. They get paid on time, their voices are heard, and they are brought into the process early. That means they are willing to offer Toyota better terms, lower prices, early access to innovation, and sometimes even priority when parts are scarce. Lower scores on the index mean suppliers see more risk. They are less likely to invest in new tooling or offer discounts, and more likely to pass on cost increases. That makes every car Nissan builds a little more expensive, a little slower to reach the market, and a little less competitive on the showroom floor. Kei Matsumoto, the procurement manager who first saw the Project Apex memo, understood this dynamic all too well. His entire career had been spent negotiating with suppliers who, when given a choice, always seemed to favor Toyota. The memo's cold calculations were built on this reality. If Toyota could lock in better terms with every major supplier, Nissan would be forced to pay more, wait longer, and fight harder just to keep up. Toyota's relationships go beyond contracts. The company's approach is built on decades of trust, joint development, and cost sharing. Suppliers surveyed in the WRI study described Toyota as a customer of choice 12 times more often than Nissan. That status brings real-world advantages, preferential pricing, shared R&D, and a seat at the table when new technologies are rolled out. For Toyota, it means the power to shape the market. For Nissan, it means constantly playing catch-up, often with less favorable terms and higher risks. Dr. Chen points out, in a business where pennies per part add up to billions over millions of vehicles, these advantages compound. Toyota's scale and supplier loyalty let it undercut rivals, weather shortages, and launch new models faster. Nissan simply cannot match that leverage. The effect is felt in every dealership, every production line, and every quarterly report. Toyota's invisible hand in the supplier world does not just secure better deals, it sets the rules of engagement for the entire industry. As the competition moves from boardrooms to showrooms, the true cost of supplier power becomes clear. For Nissan, the challenge is not just building better cars, it is surviving in a world where Toyota calls the shots. The battle for America's driveways is nowhere more intense than the compact SUV segment. On one side, the Toyota RAV4, an industry juggernaut. On the other, the Nissan Rogue, once Nissan's ace in the hole. The numbers tell a story that feels more like a rout than a rivalry. In 2025, Toyota sold 358,134 RAV4s in the US. That's more than double the Rogue's 161,824. Every month, nearly 30,000 RAV4s roll out to new owners, while the Rogue struggles to keep up, falling further behind even after a brief third quarter boost. But the scoreboard doesn't stop at raw volume. Toyota's pricing strategy lands another blow. With a typical RAV4 listing just 3% higher than the Rogue, buyers see little reason to compromise. That razor-thin price gap vanishes when you factor in Toyota's reputation for reliability and higher resale values. For families weighing every dollar, the RAV4's lower 5-year maintenance costs and stronger trade-in numbers turn a slight premium into a long-term bargain. Dealerships feel the difference every day. RAV4s move off lots in weeks, sometimes days, while Rogues linger. Salespeople know which keys will be gone before the next shipment arrives. Even incentives can't close the gap. Toyota's volume lets it hold the line, while Nissan is forced to offer deeper discounts just to keep pace. The result? Nissan's profits erode, and every Rogue sold feels like a harder win. Industry insiders watch this contest with a sense of inevitability. The RAV4's dominance isn't just about a single model, it's a sign of Toyota's larger playbook. By outpacing Nissan in the segment that matters most, Toyota tightens its grip on the market's heart. The Rogue, once a contender, now fights for relevance as Toyota's lead grows with every sale. This isn't just a scoreboard, it's a warning. In the SUV showdown, Toyota isn't just winning, it's rewriting the rules of competition. Hybrid technology has become Toyota's masterstroke in the war for consumer loyalty. In 2025, hybrids account for 45.8% of Toyota's US sales, a number that stands as both a warning and a promise to every rival. Walk into a Toyota showroom and the narrative is clear: reliability, efficiency, and choice. From the Corolla Hybrid to the Highlander, buyers see a wall of options that blend gasoline dependability with electric savings. For families, commuters, and even skeptics of full electrification, Toyota's hybrids offer a middle ground that feels practical and proven. Dr. Lillian Chen, whose research tracks automotive technology adoption, puts it bluntly: Toyota's hybrid footprint is everywhere. The company isn't just selling cars, it's selling confidence. For most buyers, the hybrid badge means fewer headaches and more value down the road. That confidence is reflected in the numbers. Toyota's hybrids deliver up to 58 miles per gallon, with maintenance costs averaging 15% less over 5 years compared to traditional models. Owners report 94% smooth operation beyond 80,000 kilometers, and resale values consistently outpace the competition. In contrast, Nissan's electrified lineup, anchored by the e-Power series, struggles to match that reputation. While Nissan touts quick city acceleration and fewer transmission issues, its hybrids lag in efficiency and long-term reliability. On the showroom floor, the difference is impossible to ignore. Toyota's hybrid models move quickly, often with waiting lists, while Nissan's offerings gather dust. Salespeople point to fuel economy charts and reliability awards, turning every customer question into another reason to choose Toyota. Even shoppers drawn to Nissan's lower sticker prices often turn away when they factor in long-term savings and trade-in values. For Nissan, the stakes are growing. Their early bet on pure electrics left them exposed as the market shifted toward hybrids. Now, every month that Toyota expands its hybrid share, Nissan's path to recovery gets steeper. Dr. Chen warns, if Nissan can't close the hybrid gap, their EV hopes may not be enough to keep them in the game. The numbers, the expert voices, and the showroom realities all point to the same conclusion. Toyota's hybrid edge isn't just a technical advantage, it's a story that wins over buyers, one car at a time. Nissan is running out of time to rewrite its own. The collapse of the Nissan-Honda merger talks in February 2025 sent a shockwave through Nissan's executive ranks. For months, leaders at both companies had negotiated what was supposed to be a lifeline, a union big enough to challenge Toyota's scale, with the promise of shared technology, expanded EV resources, and a global reach that could finally close the gap. But when Honda insisted on full control, demanding Nissan become a subsidiary rather than an equal, negotiations stalled. On February 18th, the deal was dead. By then, Nissan sales in the US had stalled at 673,260 units for the year, less than half of Toyota's total. The numbers didn't lie. Without Honda, Nissan faced the future alone, and every month, the gap grew wider. Inside Nissan's Yokohama headquarters, the mood shifted from anxious hope to a kind of stunned silence. Hiroshi Tanaka, a veteran engineer with 30 years at the company, summed up the feeling in a single line. "We thought we had a partner. Now it's just us, and the wolves are circling." There would be no immediate rescue, no new alliance to share the burden of rising EV costs or the relentless pace of digitalization. Instead, the company braced for fallout, cost cuts, layoffs, and the threat of shuttered plants that had once been the pride of Japan's industrial recovery. Industry analysts watched as the news broke, pointing to the numbers that mattered most. Toyota's US sales had climbed to 1,595,301 vehicles, up 7% from the year before. Nissan's 673,260 units represented only a 2% uptick, a gain swallowed by losses in Asia and Europe. The failed merger wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was the loss of a shield against a competitor whose momentum now looked unstoppable. For workers like Tanaka, the consequences weren't abstract. Every failed negotiation meant another round of uncertainty. "It's not just about cars," he said. "It's about families, towns, the future of our company." As the dust settled, one thing was clear. Nissan's margin for error had vanished. The next move would come at a human cost. The first wave of layoffs swept through Nissan in early March, 20,000 jobs gone in a matter of weeks. The news hit assembly lines from Yokohama to Sunderland, leaving break rooms silent and parking lots half empty by dusk. For many, decades of loyalty counted for nothing. Supervisors handed out envelopes, and workers filed out past the same gates where their parents once clocked in. The cuts didn't just trim costs, they hollowed out entire communities built around the promise of steady work and a future for the next generation. Inside the plants that stayed open, the atmosphere shifted. Overtime vanished overnight. Teams shrank. Rumors spread about which department might be next. The anxiety wasn't just about losing a paycheck. It was about losing a way of life. In the cafeteria at Optima, the talk circled around the Ariya, Nissan's long-awaited electric crossover. The Ariya was supposed to be a turning point, a shot at redemption after years of falling behind. But even that hope began to slip away as production delays stacked up. By April, more than 120,000 customers who had reserved an Ariya were told to wait again. Parts shortages, software glitches, and battered supplier relationships meant the line moved at half speed, if it moved at all. Some workers clung to their routines, fixing machines and checking quality, but the pride had faded. Every empty workstation was a reminder of friends who'd packed up and left. Managers tried to rally the teams, promising that the worst was over, but few believed it. The sense of family that once defined Nissan's factories now felt fragile, stretched thin by uncertainty and fear. For the people on the floor, the struggle wasn't about market share or strategy. It was about keeping the lights on at home, paying for school, and holding on to something that felt permanent in a world suddenly up for grabs. As the ARIA delays dragged on and more layoffs loomed, the question became impossible to ignore. How much more could they take before Nissan itself disappeared from their lives? Project Apex 2029 is not just a line in a memo, it's Toyota's blueprint for the next era of global dominance. The numbers behind it are staggering. A targeted leap from 12.4% to 15% global market share within just 4 years. That 2.6% jump may sound modest, but in an industry where every 0.1% means hundreds of thousands of vehicles and billions in revenue, it's an ambition that leaves rivals gasping for air. Dr. Lillian Chen, whose work on automotive market forecasting has earned her a reputation for cutting through corporate spin, lays out the implications with chilling clarity. If Toyota gets anywhere close to 15% by 2029, the rest of the industry will be fighting over scraps. Nissan, in particular, could find itself locked out of the most profitable segments altogether. The plan is built around a relentless expansion of Toyota's hybrid and electrified lineup, aggressive pricing, and a new wave of supplier partnerships designed to lock in cost advantages for years to come. Internal projections show Toyota rolling out at least 6 new hybrid models by 2027, each aimed squarely at categories where Nissan still turns a profit. These aren't just incremental updates, they're designed to erase the last safe havens Nissan has left, from mid-size sedans to compact crossovers. Supplier contracts are being renegotiated with volume guarantees and technology-sharing clauses that leave little room for competitors to catch up. Dr. Chen points to the data. Toyota's ability to secure priority access to next-generation batteries and chips will widen the gap even further. By 2029, Nissan's cost structure could be fundamentally broken in the segments that matter most. For Nissan, the threat is existential. Project Apex doesn't just aim to win the sales race, it's about making sure there's no race left to run. The industry is watching for any sign that Nissan can find a lifeline, but on the current trajectory, Toyota's victory looks less like a question and more like a countdown. Inside Nissan's boardroom, the mood is tense and brittle. The failed Honda merger has left the company exposed, with layoffs and plant closures rippling through every level. Yet, even as the numbers turn bleak, a new rumor begins to circulate. One that could decide whether Nissan has any future at all. Whispers point to a European automaker, unnamed in official channels, quietly sending feelers to Nissan's leadership. The details are scarce, but the stakes are clear. This could be the last chance to avoid slipping below the 5% global market share line, a threshold that, if crossed, would push Nissan out of the world's top ranks for good. Negotiators, working under strict confidentiality, are said to be exploring a partnership focused on electric vehicles and digital platforms. The idea is simple in theory. Combine Nissan's early experience with electric vehicles and the European partner's scale and access to capital. But behind closed doors, doubts linger. Recent projections from industry analysts paint a grim picture. If current trends hold, Nissan's global share could drop below 5% within 2 years. At that point, even a dramatic turnaround might not be enough to reverse the slide. For Nissan's remaining engineers and designers, the prospect of a European lifeline sparks a glimmer of hope. The company's legacy, built over 9 decades, hangs by a thread. But the risks are enormous. Any deal would mean ceding control over core technology and future strategy, decisions that could erase what remains of Nissan's independence. Board members weigh the options late into the night, knowing that a single misstep could mean the end of the Nissan name as the world knows it. As talks drag on, nothing is certain. The rumored partner remains in the shadows, and no binding agreement has been reached. Every day without a deal brings Nissan closer to the edge. The question now is not just whether Nissan can survive, but whether anyone will step forward to help, or if this is the moment the company's long fight finally runs out of road. Beneath the headlines, the real battle isn't about secret plots. It's about who adapts fastest as the auto industry transforms. Toyota's dominance and Nissan's struggle aren't accidents. They're consequences of relentless innovation and shifting consumer demands. Today, every automaker faces a choice: evolve or fade. The future of driving is being decided in boardrooms and laboratories right now, far from the conspiracy, but just as ruthless. What happens next will change what we drive forever.